Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to do a different kind of Minecraft video. It actually doesn't have any Minecraft at all in it. Instead, what I'm doing is showing how I do research for my builds. This is something I've been thinking about doing for a little while, and I think it would be good to show my process for how I go about constructing in Minecraft. Now, as a case study, we're going to use my Palace of Versailles mega project. So, the first thing that I like to do whenever doing something that's in real life is go to Google Maps. And from here, I go to wherever the real life site is, in this case, Versailles, just outside of Paris. And we're going to take a look at some of the different ways that I research for my building projects. Now, the Palace of Versailles has extensive gardens, an extensive park, and a whole city around it. So there's quite a lot to take in. Now, one of the things that I like to do when on Google Maps is set the scale to metric because it's a good just thumbnail for being able to tell the size of buildings. And in Minecraft, it's a good rule of thumb that one block equals 1 meter cubed. Another way that you can do a little bit of estimation for the size of buildings is by setting a couple of points on the map and then seeing what the distance is between them. In this case, there's this building that I'm going to do, and see, they're about 90 meters. It's actually more like 110 from edge to edge, but it's a good way of just getting an idea of what the size is of different structures. Something else that's really great about Google Maps is the Street View function, where there are so many 360 images that are actually a lot of them navigable of city streets, even sometimes of the insides of buildings. And it helps you get an idea of what it's like to be on the ground looking at buildings. And that's something that I think is very important in my Minecraft builds to try to get a sense of realism and scale. You want to know what it's like when you're actually there looking at something. And this is the closest thing besides actually going to visit. Like I said, you can see the insides of some buildings, famous buildings, like the Palace of Versailles. You can see the Hall of Mirrors here, 360-degree view. And you can even move around. And it helps you get a look at different angles at things that aren't always as apparent when you're looking at static pictures. It's a very useful tool, and I use it all the time. But it's just one tool. Something else that is very important is knowing what the layout is of buildings. The same way as you want to look at a map when you're seeing things outside, you want to see a floor plan to know where rooms are. Now, you can look up floor plans, but you always want to be careful to make sure that you're getting the right thing. When you Google floor plans for something, you may find fan-made different structures that are inspired by the one you're looking for, which can be very interesting. And I do like to look at them and see what people have created. But if I'm doing a project based off of a real building, I want to try to find as close to the real blueprints as I can. Now, also, with old buildings like Versailles, things have changed over the course of centuries. So you want to make sure that you know what era of the building you're looking at. Now, in this case, we know that the Dufour Pavilion has already been constructed, as well as the Gabriel Pavilion over here. So this is definitely more modern. We also have the theater, which was only inaugurated at the wedding of Louis XVI. Most strikingly, we have the Gallery of Battles here, which was added in the 19th century. So this is definitely a floor plan after Versailles had ceased to be a royal residence. And this is actually very close to how I am building my Versailles, although mine is even different than this because I have the Congress chamber near the Gallery of Battles. But you can see the red section, that's the Hall of Mirrors. You can see all of the different staterooms, the location of staircases, uh, numbers of windows. Those are all good things to keep in mind when starting a building. Now, for more detailed sections, I found this really great blog. This is Versailles, which has information about tons of aspects of the palace. Now, here's a zoomed in section of the ground floor of the palace, and there are even organized areas to see what each room is. Now, this blog, some of it's a little bit older, so as it always is with doing internet research, sometimes you're going to look for something and it's just not going to be there. Or maybe you'll only get a little piece. That happens sometimes. That's fine. But see, in the case of this room, I now know what I want to look up. And I can go to the official website for the Palace of Versailles and get a little bit more context, maybe some pictures of different angles, and also just a little rundown, brief histories. It's good to have multiple sources just to kind of compare, because also sometimes there are mistakes. One thing that I found on the official Versailles website is that there are separate entries for the Dauphin's apartments before and after a large renovation. And at first I thought they were different sets of rooms, and then I realized, no, they're the same rooms, they just have been renovated. So that's part of why it's important to know what you're looking at. But with all of these tools in mind, we can go about trying to do some research to figure out how to build different buildings. In the case of this one, this building up here, this is going to be probably the next thing that I do out in the city of Versailles. Let's start by just seeing what it is today. It's the Court of Appeals of Versailles. So if we take a look and just Google what it is, there we go. We get just a little bit of history, but it also tells us what the building is. It's the former Queen's Stables. Now, this is actually on French Wikipedia rather than English Wikipedia, but when you're on Google, it has a nice little handy translate function. And see, here we can get a little bit more history on the building, a couple of pictures. It's still not quite as much information as I want. I want to get a little bit more context. So let's try taking a look at images. Well, unfortunately, we very quickly ended up finding images of the wrong building. We have the Royal Mews, which is at Buckingham Palace. We have some other images that just don't look like the proper building we're looking for. There are a few of them, but we're getting a whole lot of different results. So let's see if we can try to be a little bit more specific. Let's see if we can find. Now the official website is talking about the Great Coach Gallery. Let's try specifically for Versailles. We have that same page we went to. Also about the Great Stables. Well, let's see if Wikipedia has a source that will help us do some more research. So if we go here, here we have a few more pictures. So, yep, we have 20 photos to look at. And there's the central court. It looks like this is one of the outer buildings with the main gate. And actually, if we go over and take a look at the map, we can see the bird's eye view of those. And from the street view, yep, there they are. So that's what the front of the building looks like. I'm not sure we'll be able to get any pictures of the inside, especially since they're not stables anymore. They're now government offices. We have some black and white pictures. Still nothing inside. And it looks like it looks like we got as much as we're going to get for now, which is fine. And maybe in the future I'll come across some pictures of or drawings of what it used to look like inside when they were stables. But sometimes you do kind of reach bedrock and you're not able to go any further with your research. But when that happens, so be it. You just have to let your imagination take over and be creative with your build. Now let's take a look at another building in the city of Versailles that I'm going to do. I've kept all of these in mind. This is going to be a church. It was originally a cathedral until a new one was built on the opposite side of the city. Let's see what we can learn about this building. So here we have a good idea of what the facade looks like. A good idea of the color for the building. I'll probably use sandstone. Let's see a little bit of the history. We even have a nice picture of the interior. And reading the history of a building also helps to inform how you want to build it. What function did it serve? In this case, this was built as a cathedral. It was a seat for a bishop. So you would imagine that there would be an office, several offices, maybe a residence attached. Knowing the function of a building helps to inform what the building has. And we have a good view of the organ, good view of the dome. So we have a decent idea of what we would want the church to look like. Now let's see if we can get a floor plan. Here we go. This is the same church. And if we take a look at this, we have a nice floor plan, so we can try to figure out or estimate the width of the windows, the width of the nave and the transept. We see that there's a chapel in the back, a circular chapel. So this will help us to lay out the footprint of the building in our city. And then we just go up based off of estimates on the height, what works. These arches, I probably want to have them be 5 blocks wide, maybe 3 blocks wide if I really have to, but I think 5 should be good, and that should give it a nice arch shape. But here, again, about needing to be careful, we have 2 images that look like they're of the same chapel, but then a third, I'm not sure, and the fourth, this is the royal chapel in the palace. This is a floor plan that I've seen plenty of times. It's right here. It's in the palace itself. So this is a completely different area, a completely different building than this. So again, yeah, you want to be careful to know that what you're looking at is what you want. Another handy thing on Street View is even if something's obstructed, you can look at different dates very often. See, there we are. It looks like Versailles has been well documented by Google Street View. We can also see some of the other buildings on the city streets. Now, I'm not going to be as particular with these when I go to build them. I'm going to take a few for inspiration. I'm going to do a lot of copy paste because building an entire city takes a very long time. But when it comes to the main buildings, municipal buildings, things that I want to definitely include, there's also the library here in Versailles. Now, here we can see that there's kind of a mess of buildings over here, and I want to know if I'm building the library itself, what it would be like. Let's see if we can find a floor plan. And none of these look like they're very handy. Let's specify Versailles. Well, we're getting some things of the palace. And if it's not of the palace, it's just pictures of the library. See, I'm not seeing anything that looks like it would match the aerial view that I saw of the library. All right, let's take a look. Here's a picture of one of the rooms inside the library. And here's looking down through doorways in the library. And we just get those two pictures. Well, let's see if we can find any other angles. Let's just look for the inside and see what we can find. All right, there's a different angle of the series of doorways we saw before. Here's another image of one of the rooms. There are those doorways again. A little bit back, one of the rooms. Now this looks different. Let's see if this is part of the same building. Let's see, the Hotel des Affaires, Hotel of Foreign Affairs, and the Navy. Historical landmark. Let's see what happens when we visit this page. Because we see a couple of images that look a little bit different from what we've seen already. Now that's in Paris. That's completely different. So yeah, let's see. Well, it just comes up with a different picture, and there are no other pictures attached. So that may not have been a different room right there in the same library. It might be a completely different library. Well, let's see. We have some images of the small private libraries within the palace. Let's see. So this building, well, here's a cutaway view. Let's take a look at this. Well, it looks like we can see there on the ground floor a series of rooms that look like they would correspond to the library stacks that go across the heart of the building. So that can be helpful. Of course, we want to know what the footprint is. Let's see, cookies. Jeez, very complicated. Oh, wait a second. Okay. So the library. Not getting too many other pictures. Okay, but you know what? It looks like the building might be U-shaped. Oh, wait a second. No, that's the palace side. Here it is, over here. Yeah. So it looks like it's kind of, there's the main entrance. See, it says it's the library. So I believe that it's a U-shaped building Let's try something a little bit different. Let's read up on the history, like I said, about what the building functions as. So it was built, it's the Foreign Affairs and Navy building. Let's see. The Treaty of Paris 1783 was negotiated in this building, not even in the palace. The palace was across the street. This is down near the Orangerie. There we go, conversion to a municipal library. That was pretty early, it looks like. Let's see. All right, so, State Gallery. So there's that series of doorways that we saw with the stacks. And it looks like it's a series of rooms, yes, that were originally salons for negotiating, for hosting dignitaries, what have you. And, well, let's see. Let's try to select out one of those rooms in particular and see if we can find more pictures of what it looks like. So let's try the Hall of Treaties. We're just getting the Hall of Mirrors, where the Treaty of Versailles was signed. Yeah, that's the same thing. Let's see. Let's try. No, we're just getting some hotels, guest hotels, library. Well, we're getting some more of the images that we had already. We're also getting some of the images that, like I said, I think are of different libraries. Some images of the private libraries within the palace itself. So that's not entirely helpful. Maybe not Hall of Treaties. Let's try this room, Powers of the South. That might be specific enough to help us find pictures. Same thing. We're getting a few images of what we know is the Versailles Municipal Library, but a few images that just are not. I know for a fact some of these are different libraries in other cities. Let's try to look at this one again. No. Yeah, it's going back to the same place. 1,000 libraries. I think that might be one of the 999 other libraries that the page is talking about. Well, the other thing is that it's a municipal library. It doesn't necessarily need to be particularly fancy in each of the rooms. These are not, it's not a formal royal residence. Let's see. The bookcases here don't match the other bookcases. Yeah, this looks like it's Louis's private library. And I believe this is Marie Antoinette's private library. This is the municipal library. I recognize those doors, but it looks like this is an alcove. So let's see. Yeah, we'll probably have the rooms be pretty uniform in the different sections of the library. Let's just see if there's anything else we can glean here. Sometimes things will just jump out at you when you least expect it. But let's see, it's a gallery that looks all the way down the length of the building. So that has to be pretty long. So if we go back to the map, we go back and look above, it's got to be that long section. Now, I don't think it's that hotel up there. That's a different one, Hotel of War. It's this building, this U-shaped building. This long section must be the where the stacks are going down the length of the building. So, yeah, I think that that's probably what we're looking for. Now, let's take another look and see if we can get a street view. Ah, here we are. Not from outside, we saw that, but let's try the courtyard. And yeah, we can see that it's a U-shaped building. It butts up to a building on the other side, but that looks like that's for the stacks. Yeah, so it looks like the same woodwork. And let's see what kind of signage we can find, because I'm not sure what that is over on the other side. This goes out towards the street that we already took a look at. Well, here, let's see. Space for music and cinema, the discotheque. Okay. Hall of lecture. Okay. Yes, I believe that these are the stacks, that that series of rooms with all the books that we saw go down the length of the building there on the primary floor. So I think we have a pretty good idea of the bones for the municipal library. Let's take a look at one more building here in the city of Versailles. This is the Royal Tennis Court. Here's a street view from outside. Doesn't look very majestic, but here's a plaque. This was the site of the tennis court oath, a very pivotal moment of the French Revolution in June of 1789. And let's see if we can get a street view 360 of the inside of the building. It doesn't look like it. Well, that's all right. It's a square building. I can't imagine it's incredibly difficult to figure that out. So let's go take a look at tennis court. Well, first let's start with the tennis court oath. Like I said, this was, 20 June 1789. Members of the Third Estate in the hall of the indoor tennis court, the grounds of Versailles. That's doing a little bit of heavy lifting. It was several blocks away from the palace in the city, as we saw on the maps. Let's see if we take a look. We see some images, some contemporary images. The oath itself. Here's a picture of what it looks like inside today. There's a drawing of the tennis court oath up there on the wall, commemorative statue, commemorative busts. Like I said, plain building, rectangular. Looks like there are large windows up there. There's a gallery down along the court itself. And looking at the history, it's had periods of neglect. At the bicentenary in 1989, restored the tennis court. Let's see more information about that. Back to the official website for Versailles. And talking about tours. Yep, another image of the inside. It was an older version of modern day tennis. More information about the tennis court oath and the French Revolution. Yep, we can see some more of the history of it. And really, it's kind of a miracle that the building still exists. It's been a theater storeroom, a workshop, storage space, studio for painters. All right. So I'm sure that this building probably is connected to a couple of other buildings nearby that have some other storage areas. So all in all, I think that that's we have a good idea of how we want that building to look like inside and out. It's not a very complicated building, doesn't look like. So that's just an idea of how I go about doing research when I build in Minecraft. I want to get an idea of what buildings look like and how I want to tackle them. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you check out some of my other videos. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.